Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, Mr. Femi Ajayi, the Executive Secretary of the Petroleum Technology Development Fund, is our guest on Question Time. Let's quickly look at the developing local content. Now, what's the PTDF doing in this regard?
Yes. This one, for instance, all these ones that I'm telling you about is all part of the local content. I mean, when you have a situation where you need helicopter pilots in the country, because most of the oil rigs and oil installations are located in places where the conventional aircraft cannot go. So you need helicopters to go to those places. And because we found out that there was a capacity gap in that area, then we trained helicopters.
Tell us the current operating capacities of our refineries.
The working capacity is different from the installed capacity. In fact, at the moment, I don't think any of our local refineries is working now. Though I understand that within the next 3 to 5 weeks, Port Harcourt refinery and one other refinery may start working. The issue had always been this turnaround maintenance.
But how would you react on the reports that 6 refineries are about coming back to life?
Oh, they are about to start working, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that is it. They have not started working. This turnaround maintenance had been on for quite some time. But the latest indications is that at least 2 of them will be back to production within the next 3 to 5 weeks. But you know that is not really our area of competence in PTDF. Our own is capacity building for the oil and gas industry.
Would you say Nigeria has the adequate manpower to run our refineries?
I think we have what it takes now to run our refineries. We've been in this business for quite some time. I mean, since the discovery of oil in Oloibiri way back in 1958. I mean, we've come a long way.
Tell us why our refineries are yet to start functioning to full capacity. What are the problems? Has it anything to do with manpower?
Well, it's not about manpower alone. It is also about spare parts and some other things. I mean, you may have the technical know-how. If you don't have the spare parts to do it, sometimes that is a serious challenge.
But why do we still rely heavily on expatriates in running our refineries?
It is not just enough to have the education to do a particular thing. You also need experience. You get my point. Sometimes even the people that you have trained, maybe they need on-hand experience, which is one of the challenges that PTDF is trying to cope with, trying to make sure that reduce the gap between the academia and even the industry.
Some time ago, there was a publication that the PTDF is broke. Could you bring us up to speed on this?
Who is saying that? That the PTDF is broke?
Yeah, so is the PTDF not broke? Or?
Well, the PTDF is not broke. The PTDF may not be as rich as it used to be, but it is not broke. We are still sending our scholars abroad.
But when last did you send scholars abroad?
You know that there is a particular period of the year when they go, usually around September. We still sent last year, and we are sending this year again.
We understand that the PTDF gets signature bonuses from licensing rounds. Now, could you tell us more on this licensing rounds of the oil block?
Yes, one of the peculiarities of the PTDF is the fact that for now, it doesn't get money from appropriation by the National Assembly. It is solely funded through signature bonuses.
What percentage does the PTDF get?
Now we get 25%, though the act establishing the PTDF actually said 100%, but somewhere along the line it was reduced to 25%.
Now, how do you see the allegations of massive corruptions in the Nigeria's oil sector?
Allegations remain allegations until they are proved. But the oil and gas industry is not an isolated sector from the other sectors of the economy or of the Nigerian society. If there is corruption in some other places, then it should be expected that there will be same in the oil and gas industry. And don't forget that the oil and gas industry contributes up to about 70% to the national revenue. So, it is obvious that if there is corruption in the Nigerian society, then it will be difficult to keep it away from the oil and gas sector.
Now, do you support the scrapping of the NNPC or the splitting of the NNPC as recommended by some members of this government?
Well, I'm not in a position to talk about whether it is right or wrong. I know that there is always need for improvement in everything. I'm sure that those who are in a position to take the decisions regarding the NNPC will take the right decision that is appropriate, that is in the national interest.
But don't you think you should be bothered? Because if we look at the rate at which corruption is going on, according to reports, don't you think that might undermine the quality of the manpower in which the PTDF is churning out?
Yeah, if so many things can limit the quality of the workforce. If there is corruption within the system, there is a possibility that the people may not even have the resources that they need to work with. So, but I think all Nigerians are agreed on the fact that corruption is an ill wind that, it doesn't do anybody any good.
Tell us, why is there so much controversy about the passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill?
The Petroleum Industry Bill is something that I would expect people to see as something that will impact positively on everybody, especially on the national economy. But unfortunately, people see it as a zero-sum game where the benefit of one group translates to loss for another group, rather than see it as a winner. I think it is a win-win situation for everybody, because if the Petroleum Industry Bill is passed, you will have a more robust oil and gas sector, because look at the wait-and-see attitude that we are having from investors now, because they are not sure of anything. They don't know what the royalties will be. They don't know what the rules of engagement will be. Because the PIB, basically, there are a set of guidelines and rules as to how the oil and gas sector will be regulated. Who gets what? You get my point. So, because that has not been decided now, there is a wait-and-see attitude by the investors. And in the process, we are losing a lot of money.
Now, before we wind down this conversation, tell us about the dwindling fortunes in the global oil sector. What should be the way forward?
We have to add more value to our oil, which invariably means that we must refine more of our oil for both domestic use and even for export. A situation where we sell most of our oil and gas in crude form, it cannot augur well for sustainable development, especially for a wasting asset like oil and gas. Then secondly, like other countries, we must also go into renewable and other alternative sources of energy. And even before the oil eventually the fossil fuel that we have. Before it is exhausted, we must ensure that we use the proceeds of the oil to develop other sectors. That is by way of diversification of our economy. That is the way forward. So, and you know that it is not by accident that the best economies in the world, the best airlines, the best transport systems, the best power sectors, they are owned by technologically advanced countries. So we really need to develop our science and technology base so that we'll be in a position to compete better in the market.
Mr. Femi Ajayi, thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Question Time. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks for inviting me.
And that's as much as we can take on this episode of Question Time. You may also send us your comments on our various social media platforms showing on your screen. Join us next week on another exciting episode of the show on Channels Television. Many thanks for watching. I'm Benga Ashiru saying goodbye.